I've been here at this podium regularly to talk about violence. And in 120 days, not one of them, my first 120 days, not one of them have gone by without me talking to someone either publicly or privately about this topic. And as I've said many times in our community, we're dealing with two pandemics. We know the COVID-19 is still with us, but the other virus that we are dealing with is that of violence. And the crime and violence that we have seen it defies logic. You know, I mentioned the 10-year-old girl that just happened this past week, but also my first Sunday in office. You know, Julius Greer Jr., that still sits with me. That still is something that many of us are still feeling, this 14-year-old that was shot in the back and died. People in the city, they deserve peace, and I am committed to bringing them that peace that they deserve. But I also know that the prescription for peace will not be found in City Hall or just in public safety. The solution to violence can be found in our community's most powerful tool, the people of Rochester. So today, I am announcing a proposal to establish, as part of our ongoing violence initiatives, the Rochester Peace Collective, which will function much like a community trust to identify and provide community-based solutions for violence reduction programs. Grassroots programs will be a major part of this. Pending City Council's approval, City Hall will provide an initial investment of $5 million to establish this collective. From there, we will solicit bids from organizations to implement anti-violence programs while we recruit philanthropies and other fiduciary agencies to raise and contribute additional funding to this collective. You know, my career has been in banking, and we talk a lot about investments. This is an investment. We have many organizations that are out there doing the work on the ground, but they may not have the capacity because of the resources. So we are going to help those organizations with augmenting their resources, using their creative energy, and help these organizations get the resolve to help us address the root causes of this violence. Now, you may say, what might some of these programs be? They can include reentry programs, job training, or mediation and conflict resolution, just to name a few. But those that are going to work with this Peace Collective are going to agree to something: collaboration. We are going to collaborate and work together on making sure that we address the root causes of violence. The funding for this will come from the city's allocation from the American Rescue Plan Act. I want to thank our congressional delegation for securing those dollars: Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and Congressman Joe Morelli. And of course, the work of this collective won't be done in isolation. It will be folded into our two-pronged violence reduction strategies of prevention and suppression. The Rochester Peace Collective will be coordinated by, I'm putting this man to work. It will be coordinated by Victor Saunders, and it will align with our other prevention strategies, which also includes the Office of Neighborhood Safety, Pathways to Peace, and our Persons in Crisis team, which is under the auspices and is led by our Commissioner of the Department of Recreation and Human Services, Shirley Green. We will also bring in our library, in addition to all of the community-based organizations that we will put together. So I'm going to have Victor step forward and tell us a little bit more about this initiative and how all these things will work together. And then after we talk about that, we will talk about the suppression piece with the police chief, and then I will take questions. This is a very exciting initiative, and it's exciting because it's going to involve the people of Rochester, those that are on the ground. They're going to help us to be able to combat this pressing problem. So Victor, come forward, and then we'll go to the chief.
Thank you. It's a very exciting day for the community. I took this job excited at the opportunity to make a difference, and I knew the mayor fully committed to prevention and intervention strategies as it relates to the community. But this $5 million investment shows we're really putting our money where our mouth is. We've been working for this moment for the past 4 months. The city has centralized violence prevention intervention efforts under the mayor's office. We've aligned our teams at Pathways to Peace and Office of Neighborhood Safety in preparation for the Advanced Peace and Peacemakers Fellowship, which will also address gun violence. And we've been working together with countless grassroots programs to leverage each other's strengths, understanding that the end result is a direct consequence of the systemic racism, poverty, and unaddressed traumatic experiences that Black and brown communities have had to face over a period of time. We must continue to address these issues in order to have a long-term effect on the city's violence. It won't be a short-term fix. Today's announcement of the Rochester Peace Collective formalizes all of this existing cooperation and coordination by building bridges and further eliminating silos as we include city, county, community, and religious organizations in this fight for the soul of our city. In only a few days, I can already share with you that we have several peace-focused organizations on board with the collective. These are just a few of the enrichments that we will be putting in place for young people this upcoming summer. And we invite more to the table. By working together and each bringing our best work to the table, we will achieve more than any of us could do alone. We call for the natural helpers to continue to step up. Continue your work in your neighborhoods, your homes, and your churches. We respect and understand that as anchors in the community, we can't do it without you. Your intergenerational mentorship could change the life of numerous young people, and we understand that a positive adult in the life of a young person is a life-changing thing. If you are working in violence prevention or intervention, please join us. I'm excited that we are in a position to help fund the crucial work that is going on at the street level. You can call 428-7406 or email Rochester Peace Collective at cityofrochester.gov. I'd like to thank the mayor and all our elected officials who have made today's announcement happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic, and thank you for your work. And people sometimes say, oh, you're just doing the peace stuff. We're doing it both. And the message that we want to send to the community is that we are doing prevention, and that's Vic's job. But there is a suppression piece. We want to make sure that we get illegal guns off the street. And I want to have briefly our interim chief of police come up and give an update on our crime suppression strategy. So, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Almost lost everything there. Before my comments, I have some numbers to share that will give you perspective. Despite our current staffing crisis, the men and women of the RPD continue to take guns off the street in record numbers. So far this year, in 2022, we have recovered 236 firearms from the streets of Rochester. It's April. 187 of these were handguns, 49 of them were long guns, 20 were ghost guns, 17 had been reported stolen, and with these seizures, 172 people have been arrested for criminal possession of weapons-related charges. I'd like to also add that the New York State ban on ghost guns is now in effect and should be an important tool in our fight against gun violence. Regarding some other important statistics, homicides, I'm sure you all have the numbers. 2022 year to date, we have had so far 21 homicides and 21 incidents. 11 of these 21 incidents have been closed by arrest. By comparison, in 2021 year to date, we had at this time 20 homicides and 20 incidents, and our 2021 closure rate was 56% for homicides. I'd like to add in my proposed budget for the next fiscal year, we have added two investigators and a supervisor, which is what we call a team in major crimes, to the homicide unit. Additionally, we recently reorganized the major crimes unit to create the special victims unit, which helps us better hold those who prey on our children accountable. For shooting data, this year to date, we have had 91 shooting victims and 17 fatal. In 2021, at this time, we had 84 victims and 14 fatal. It should be noted that 100% of our shooting investigations occurred on just 11% of our street segments. The RPD is engaged, as we have been, in evidence-based, data-driven policing, and we are focusing our resources daily on these problem areas. But although we can prevent some crimes from occurring, and I can displace crime, the underlying social and environmental factors which drive the violence remain, which is why Mr. Saunders' initiative is so important. As I've said many times, we're not going to arrest our way out of this problem. Aggravated assaults year to date, 153 reported aggravated assaults, 44 arrests. Many of these cases are not solved due to lack of witnesses or, in many cases, victims' lack of cooperation with the police. In addition, the U.S. Marshals Task Force, which consists of deputy marshals, deputy U.S. Marshals, RPD officers, Monroe County Sheriff's deputies, the New York State Police, as well as New York State Parole, has taken 30 wanted violent offenders off the streets so far this year. In comparison, in 2021, not year-to-date, but total 2021, this task force was responsible for 81 such apprehensions of violent offenders. So I'd like to thank all the members who participate in the task force. They are really key in locating these offenders. You know, these aren't offenders that you go knock on the door and we say, "Is Joe home?" and we take Joe away. These are offenders that are in the wind, on the run, many times in other states, and the task force locates them and brings them back. So we are currently planning an upcoming anti-violence initiative with our partners in the state police. I know the mayor and I both have spoken with the governor's office and the superintendent of the New York State Police. I have meetings later on this week, and we will be rolling out our joint initiative with the state police very soon. I'd also like to acknowledge the thank of Sheriff Baxter for the additional resources he provides. For example, over the weekend, he provided extra patrols to Clinton Avenue and is anticipating doing the same this weekend. Reducing violence in the city requires teamwork, not only with our law enforcement partners, but engagement on the part of the community. Again, we've said it many times, we can't do it alone. We need community involvement. We need people to step up, and we need initiatives like these here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So, you know I'm about trust and transparency, so I wanted to put the numbers out there so you see why we have to move now, why we cannot wait, and why we're here in April. I want to thank Rochester City Council. This legislation will be submitted jointly. The $5 million is submitted jointly with Council President Miguel Melendez. He will be here, but he would have been here, but he is under the weather, so he could not make it. But I want to thank Councilmember Pio for being here. So I always tell people, when I first got elected, people would say, "We can't wait to see what you're going to do." And I would always say, "I can't wait to see what I'm going to do, but I can't wait to see how you help me do what we are going to do." There are no vaccines for violence. There's no single magic elixir. There's no magic wands. And anyone that tells you that if we just do one thing, they don't know what they're talking about. It takes multiple things, and it takes multiple people working together to have the collaboration to do that. Collaboration, partnership. Collaboration and partnerships are collaboration, partnerships, and creativity are what is going to help us solve these problems. But it's going to require a comprehensive community-first strategy that leaves no stone unturned. And if something's not working, guess what we're going to do? Throw it out, find out why it didn't work, start over, and try something different. I am confident that the people of Rochester are up to this task, which is why I am creating this Rochester Peace Collective, to empower them in that spirit of collaboration. So Rochester, we need your help. We know there are so many of these organizations that are out here operating with shoestring budgets that are on the ground helping folks. We want to help you. So if you are a funding organization that can contribute to the collective, we want you to step up. If your agency has a program that can help reverse the root causes of violence, we need you to step in. And as we said, to be a part of the Rochester Peace Collective, we want you to call 428-4406. That's 428-4406, or email Rochester Peace Collective at cityofrochester.gov. We all know what prevention can do. We want to get the person. By the time they get to the chief, it's too late. It's too late. They're arrested, or they're in a body bag, or you have a family member crying over that coffin, or I'm on the phone in the mayor's office listening to a mother tell me about how hurt she is that her son or daughter are no longer with us. That's too late by the time they get. This is the end result here. This is the beginning result. We want to be able to stop a lot of these disputes before they escalate here. And why this is more now more than ever, why this is more important now more than ever, because we are seeing individuals who have nothing to do with the beefs that are happening in our streets becoming victims of those beefs. And the young lady that was 10 years old is People's Exhibit A of that, of the innocence that is lost because of violence. But there is another way, and I believe that we are starting that today by announcing this collective. So thank you to all my partners in government that are here. And again, we look forward. This legislation has been submitted to City Council jointly by myself and the President, and we look forward to updating on the results of some of the creative things that can happen. And I got a lot of ideas in my head. I know other folks have a lot of ideas, but I know that we're going to do some innovative things to try to stem the bloodshed that we're seeing in the streets. The last thing I'll say is I'm headed to Washington, D.C. in a little bit. And this is a topic for all of us mayors. This is not new. Every mayor across the country, it's not political. Red state, blue state, Democratic-led state, Republican-led state, we are all seeing upticks in violence across the country. Every state. South Carolina, Ohio, New York, California. It doesn't matter which you pick. So this is not a partisan issue. This is a people issue. And we are looking for ways to find solutions. And I'm looking forward to the conversations I'll be having with my fellow mayors who are probably announcing similar things later this week later today actually, with some of them as it relates to violence and in particularly gun violence. So with that, we'll take a couple of questions. These are going to be, I'm going to be clear. I am only answering on-topic questions. If you have an off-topic question, you're going to have to take them off from the podium, and a member of my staff will answer those. But on-topic questions on this topic. This is so important that we need to stay on topic today. Yes, Emil? Emil. I think that what sets this apart is that it allows for innovative and creativity, and it allows us to be able to provide resources to organizations that would not be able to get them otherwise. So that's different, and it will also allow those organizations, we're saying that we're going to help organize those organizations, because we have the institutional power to be able to do that. If you're a small organization and you got one person working for you, it may be hard for you to coordinate with 2 or 3 or 4 organizations. But what we're saying to Mr. Saunders is you're going to help get those organizations and help them collaborate, and that you're going to have these cross-sector conversations with them. But those conversations aren't just going to happen just in the mayor's office. They're also going to happen at the Department of Recreation and Human Services, where they have the PIC team, where they have access to rec centers. So if we wanted to, I'm not saying we're going to do this, so if we wanted to keep 2 rec centers on each side of the city open 24/7, these organizations can collaborate with them. I'm making Dr. Green nervous, and then provide the push-in services that we may need there. Mediation services are absolutely critical. They're absolutely critical to be able to do that. So, sir, I see your hand. We're going to do media questions, and then if you have a question afterwards, we'll come off to the side and engage community questions, okay? Mr. Sharp. Speak up. You got to speak up. Yesterday. We are going to move quickly. This legislation is appropriating the $5 million, but we have already started to identify possible organizations to do that. This is meant to be quick. This is not going to solve things overnight, but this is meant to get money out the door as fast as possible. And Vic, we have some programs that are already identified, and then obviously we'll also solicit some organizations that we may have to go to and say, will you agree to be a part of this collective, but we want to move with all deliberate speed. This is not meant to be a 2-year type thing. This is because summer's coming up. It's April, and we already have seen the numbers. We got to try to get ahead of this the best we can to make sure that we can eliminate some of the disputes and violence that we're seeing and get ahead of a lot of it. But it's going to take community connections, and it's going to take people who can do things that the chief can't do, or some things that we can't do here at City Hall. But they're going to work with us to do it. So this is bridge building in action. This is bridge building in action. So Brian, to answer your question, not with all deliberate speed, but with speed. Gino. Well, I can tell you one of the things that's top on my list, and Victor knows this, is conflict resolution and mediation. We are seeing so many cases. I mean, it's unbelievable, and obviously some of them are under investigation, but we know so many of these disputes are people that love each other. Sometimes they're family members. They're people who have been good friends. There are people that you see them on video. They're in the store talking to each other, and next thing you know, one's pulling out a gun and blowing the other's head off. Or they're relatives that are stabbing each other, and then they don't want to, tell on the other one because they're sorry they stabbed them. This is a true case. They're sorry that they stabbed this person, but they've done permanent damage. So how do we get ahead of a lot of this violence stuff that relates to basic disputes? That is a major issue. One of the things that transformed my life was I was trained as a peer mediator. I have a little bit of a temper. You may not know that. It never shows, right? I'm usually as calm as a cucumber. But I credit peer mediation with that. And I credit the conflict resolution training that I got as a 7th and 8th grader with the skills that I use now in City Hall when I'm always doing a lot of conflict resolution. Those skills are amazing. And there's data that shows that if someone has those conflict resolution skills, and this is an area where Victor is an expert in, they're less likely to go to violence. So how do we make sure that we do that? And then how do we layer in the stuff that we're already doing? Because I want to estimate. It can't be underestimated. This $5 million is just for the Peace Collective that we're talking about. But you'll see other investments, and I won't get ahead of our budget presentation, that will augment this, both in the Department of Recreation and Human Services, in the library, in Victor's shop, especially around PIC. You're going to see a lot of investments that are going to be taking place there. So we got to coordinate it. So we hope that. But that's one area that's very, very important to me. The mediation piece, getting people who we know that are known folks that have beefs, and saying, please, before you do something that you cannot take back, let's have a conversation and try to work it out before that happens. And then the other thing, job training. Job training programs are always excellent reentry programs for people who are coming back in from parole or off of probation. That is key. Because when you release a person off parole or probation, what are you releasing them to? Are you giving them a job? Are you giving them skills? Are you giving them those things? If you're able to give them those things when they're getting ready to reenter society, I chaired the reentry task force at Catholic Family Center for about 5 years when they had that program. So I know what can be done if you're able to get someone before they're there. Victor spends a lot of time in the county jail. So if we have somebody coming back from probation and they had a beef with someone in that county jail, if we're able to get them into a job training program, a counseling program, something where they can talk about the trauma that they experienced, the chances or the likelihood of them going back to that old life diminishes. So those are some of the immediate programs that we want to make sure that we focus on for this. Your name? I don't think Rachel. Which station? Spectrum. Yes, Rachel.
Can you talk a little bit more about how it's going to determine what organizations get, I guess, some of this $5 million?
Yeah, great question. I think obviously, to get funds from the city, you have to be a 501c3 or have be set up properly. But what we hope to be able to do is for those that don't, to be able to get them connected with an agency that can be a host agency for them, because they may have an idea that might be able to do that. So we hope to be able to do that. But we will have a process. We want to know what your track record is, what your capacity is, and what your appetite for collaboration is. Those are 3 things that are absolutely important. We can't have people just doing their own thing and not thinking that they can communicate with reentry. Because why is that important? Let me give you an example. If you're a father and you just got out of prison and you're working a job, what if you have custody of your child? Now, you may be in that reentry program, and that reentry program may not have a youth program component. So that reentry program is going to have to say, you know what, we want you in this program, but we have another program that will be good for your children. So let me connect you with the Department of Recreation and Human Services and get you hooked up with Biz Kids, or get you hooked up with another program there. So the collaborative piece is going to have to be extremely important. We don't want people just operating on an island. That's why we call it a collective. It's called collective work and responsibilities. It's been one of the principles that I lived with since I was a child. You have to work collectively with folks. And that's what we are saying here, because each organization, even in our departments in City Hall, they all have their different niches and what they do. Vic calls them natural helper. Each natural helper has something that they help with naturally. It might be youth, it might be incarceration, it might be jobs, it might be construction. But how do you make sure that all those things are worked together, and more importantly, that they have the capacity to produce the results of the things that they put out? And that's what we want to make sure that we are able to do. Let's take 2 more quick questions, and then we're going to wrap. Anybody else? Kutsko?
Mayor, you just touched on the greater need at this moment in time. Can you kind of speak to maybe the compare and contrast of what these organizations had before and why they need this funding now?
I think because a lot of organizations, they don't have the built-in infrastructure that I have here in city government. When I need something in city government, I can pick up the phone, and I got 3,500 employees that are here. So we have the structure, right, to be able to do those things. But sometimes we're not on the ground or in the trenches, right? And there are people that are on the ground and in the trenches that have the knowledge and expertise to be able to help us solve a lot of the issues that we are trying to solve. So we want to say to those organizations, work with us. And that's what a lot of them are missing, or they may not have the technical experience to be able to do that, so we can pull them with another large nonprofit that might have the infrastructure to help them go and just do the work. So some of these organizations, they just need to be able to focus on doing the work. They don't have time to figure out how to file a 990 or set up a separate board. They have the work to be able to do that, but they need to be paired up with an organization that can help them do that. And the city, we have the capacity to be able to do that with the expertise that we have. But now more than ever, it is so critical that we work collectively as a community. Because you know what? We are excellent at problem identification. We are excellent at it. I get people all the time, oh, you know what the problem is? And I say, that's good. You just identified the problem. What's your solution? And usually I get silence. So what we're saying is, we've identified the problem. The chief just laid them out. He gave you the numbers. He told you all the challenges that we have. So the question is what ways can we start working together to solve the problems? Is it going to be perfect? Absolutely not. If something doesn't work, trust and transparency. I'm going to tell you, it didn't work. We're going to try something else. But I do know this, that there is nothing that cannot be accomplished by Rochesterians when we come together and work collaboratively. Nothing. And I believe in the power of the people of Rochester. Who has the last question? Well, I think that $5 million is leveraging. It's seed planting, because it also goes along with all of the other investments that we will make in our budget presentation. So this is just some. This is the investment. So we want other people, we want nonprofit, we want philanthropic organizations and others to say, we also want to invest in that. Because because remember, if someone has something that works great and it's creating something that is transformative, we want the philanthropic sector to come in and say, I want to invest. Or we may want the federal government or state government or county government to say, this is working, we're also going to invest in it. So this is just seed money. This is just seed money. But it's supplementing the other work of what we are going to be able to do. But this is really targeted towards the larger community. In addition to, this is in addition to, not except, Patrick, this is in addition to what we are already doing and will be doing. We can do both. I believe in Rochester that we can have it all. But so many people are so beaten down because of what they see that they have lost hope. And they don't believe that anything will solve this problem. But we're saying today that we believe in hope. And I'm a faithful person. And we're going to stay faithful. But more importantly, we're going to stay connected with the larger community that is going to help us transform this sickness of violence that is permeating our community. So I want to thank you all for being here today. I believe the communications team has the press releases that she will hand out to you with all of the particulars and information, and I'm sure that we will be having many follow-up conversations on this. Again, thank you to my partners in government, my team at City Hall. I appreciate it, and I want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you.